And in the year 2017, a Republican president in the Rose Garden is going to sign a bill repealing every word of Obamacare. You know, oddly enough, that's the same thing my wife Heidi says to me when I go to the gym. The third issue this election is going to come down to is restoring America's leadership in the world. Now, this week, President Obama helpfully told us he doesn't have a strategy yet. I'm sure everyone was shocked to hear this. You know, if you remember President Reagan, when they asked him, "What is your strategy in the Cold War?" he said, "It's very simple. We win, they lose." It's almost as if President Obama read that and got it backwards. A couple of folks took a minute to get that. All across this world, America has receded from leadership in the world. We've abandoned our friends and allies, and the world has gotten much, much more dangerous. You look at our unshakable friendship and alliance with the nation of Israel. America should stand with Israel. Just a few weeks ago, when rockets were raining down on Israel from Hamas, when terror tunnels were coming up from underground from Hamas, and the Obama administration, the FAA, banned every American flight into the nation of Israel. I'll tell you, I was proud to stand up and ask a series of hard questions, including number one, has President Obama just launched an economic boycott on the nation of Israel? And I pointed out that the FAA, in this unprecedented act, they don't ban flights to Pakistan, to Yemen, to Afghanistan. They don't even ban flights to much of Ukraine. And Ukraine just shot down a passenger airline with a Russian Buk missile. So why then was differential punishment visited on the nation of Israel, and why was it at the exact same time John Kerry arrived in the Middle East with $47 million for Gaza that will go to Hamas? Well, let me tell you, I raised that question. New York Mayor Mike Bloomberg got on an airplane and flew to Tel Aviv. And the American people nationally started asking, why is this president not standing with Israel? And within 36 hours, thanks to your leadership, the FAA lifted the ban on flights to Israel. You look at Russia right now. Sadly, the state of the world is the Russian bear is encountering the Obama kitty cat. You know what? The United States of America has never been a kitty cat. The reason Putin feels no fear to march into his neighbors, the reason why our allies up and down Europe are terrified of what's next, is because this president, as he puts it, is leading from behind. We need a president who will stand up and use every tool at our disposal. And there are a host of tools short of military conflict, like putting anti-ballistic missile batteries in Poland and the Czech Republic. like approving every single application to export liquid natural gas so we can hit Russia where it hurts in the cash register. And then you have ISIS. ISIS is the face of evil. ISIS, these guys are so extreme, they were thrown out of Al-Qaeda for being too extreme. That ain't easy. Right now, today in Iraq and Syria, ISIS is crucifying Christians. I don't mean that hypothetically. I don't mean that figuratively. This isn't just something that happened 2,000 years ago. These monsters are nailing Christians to trees. Right now, in Iraq, ISIS is taking American journalists, cutting their heads off, and mocking America to the world. America has always been reluctant to use military force, but we have never shied away from defending the United States of America. When you're dealing with monsters who are crucifying Christians and beheading American journalists, when you're dealing with monsters who are training upwards of 100 of Americans right now to come back here and visit the same terror on Americans here, number one, we need to not let into this country any American who is fighting with ISIS. And number two, ISIS says they want to go back and reject modernity. Well, I think we should help them. We ought to bomb them back to the Stone Age. The fourth and final issue that this election will come down to is defending our constitutional rights. If you support the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms, then vote Harry Reid out. By the way, in Texas, gun control means hitting what you aim at. If you support the Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights to privacy, vote Harry Reid out. And President Obama, you're next. If you support the 10th Amendment and want to repeal every word of Common Core, then vote Harry Reid out. And if you support the First Amendment, our freedom of speech, our freedom of religion, if you celebrate the Supreme Court's tremendous victory for religious liberty in the Hobby Lobby case, if you're tired of the IRS targeting citizens for their political beliefs, if you're tired of the most corrupt Department of Justice in history obstructing justice, and believe it is time to impeach Eric Holder, If you are tired of seeing 50 Democratic senators in Washington, D.C. put their name to a constitutional amendment to repeal the free speech protections of the First Amendment, because they are so terrified of each and every one of you, if you believe in the First Amendment, vote Harry Reid out. Let me say this finally. Each of you are here because we are part of a grassroots fire that is sweeping this country. We are building an army. How many of y'all have your cell phones with you? Or as President Obama calls them, your DHS communicators. If you're willing to be part of a grassroots army to turn this country about, I want to ask each of you with your cell phones to text the word dream to 33733. Let me give you that to you again. The number is 33733. And text the word dream. Because what we're fighting to do is exactly what the sign says: defend the American dream. I'm going to ask every person in this room in November 2014 to go and vote 10 times. Now, Katrina, I'm not suggesting voter fraud. We're not Democrats. But let me tell you how every one of you can vote 10 times. Go and vote and find 9 other people who wouldn't otherwise show up and get them to show up and vote. There are 3,000 people here. If each of you get 9 other people, that's 30,000. And if each of them get 9 other people, that's 300,000. That is enough to swing the United States Senate. That is enough for this room to retire Harry Reid. And so I close as I opened, simply saying to each of you, thank you. I am profoundly optimistic and hopeful. The American people are rising up to take our country back, to restore the American dream, to get back to the free market principles and constitutional liberties this country was built on, and each of you are leading the fight, and I am honored to stand side by side with each of you. Thank you, and God bless you.